So today we're going to be making the American style version of goulash, and I am aware that there is a Hungarian version as well, so for those of you that clicked on this video just to go to the comments to tell me about it,
shut up. Go away.
Seriously though, don't actually go away, because you know the metrics of YouTube and people actually viewing the video, that helps me succeed at this, and I want to succeed. For real though, there are foods out there from different cultures that are different from each other, yet they share the same name. And the taco comes to mind when thinking of this. Obviously the Mexican style taco is not the same as the American style taco. Now obviously I wouldn't call what I am making today beef Wellington, because it clearly is not beef Wellington. But if something does become widespread enough that the name does stick to it, it sort of is a real thing. So American style tacos are tacos, and American style goulash is goulash. And you shouldn't lose street cred for referring to them that way and enjoying them while eating them. So with that, let's make some goulash. So when it comes to goulash, I would imagine that there are quite a few different ways that this gets put together, and I'm actually really curious to hear about the version that you had growing up and what the similarities and differences are between the version that I had growing up. So please let me know about that in the comments. But they all seem to have a few things in common. Of course, pasta, some form of tomato, ground beef, and I've weighed out 8 ounces of ground beef here, onions, and I've chopped up 1/2 of an onion into a medium dice, and of course salt. So it's a 5-ingredient recipe. It's an easy weeknight meal. It comes together in maybe 20 minutes. It's really easy to make. So with these ingredients here, let's jump over to the stove top and let's get going with this. Okay, to get started, place a small sauce pot over low to medium heat, and I'm just going to toss in the ground beef and the onions now. And I actually only used about half the onions that I cut up, but that's the thing with recipes like this. Part of the point of a quick and easy recipe is that you really shouldn't have to be overly concerned with exact measurements. So as the beef is slowly rendering its fat out, I'll get my pasta water ready, and for this recipe it helps to use 2 pots that are roughly the same size. It kind of lines you up to where you need to be ratio-wise for the pasta and sauce mixture. Set the heat to high, add a pinch of salt, and let's turn our attention back to the beef and onion pot. And you can see that by adding the fat to a cold pot that it's not only the easier way to do it, but this fat's actually going to be given a chance to slowly render out this way, and this in turn is going to cook and soften the onions up. And after roughly 5 to 7 minutes of cooking, the beef and the onions should be fully cooked, so we're ready to add tomatoes now. And for the recipe that I had growing up, that meant tomato juice. And just in case you were wondering, I don't recommend trying this stuff straight out of the jug. It is a bit on the harsh side. Although it might not be that bad if you add a pinch of salt to it. But with the random taste testing out of the way, I've poured out some of the excess fat and liquids from the ground beef pot, and before adding the tomato juice, I am going to season it with a pinch or 2 of salt, because seasoning with every step is still important, even though we're doing an oversimplified recipe. And with that, we're ready to add the tomato juice, and I don't really have a measured amount here, other than to add enough to make the final dish sort of a soup that's on the thick and chunky side of soups. And by this point, the pot of water on the opposite burner should be boiling, so I'll go ahead and toss in the pasta. And shells are my preferred choice here, but rotini and elbow macaroni would also work well. So give that a stir to prevent stickage, and back over at the sauce pot, I'll add a pinch of salt here, and I'll go ahead and swap out the wooden spatula in favor of a ladle while I'm at it. And after allowing the pasta to boil for 10 to 12 minutes, it should be in the al dente stage, meaning that it's tender but also firm to the tooth. So it can be strained out at this point, and during this time, the tomato juice mixture has also been allowed to reach a light simmer for a few minutes. Okay, with these fully cooked now, I do quickly want to point out that if you decide to make a large enough batch that's large enough that you're going to have leftovers, don't combine everything together right now. The pasta, if you add it to the sauce right now, it will continue to absorb the water within the sauce even as it cools down, and you'll have overcooked pasta. And in fact, restaurants make pasta by cooking it till it's al dente like we have here, and then combining it with the sauce to order. And doing it this way, you'll have kind of a fresh pasta dish every single time, even though you did prepare all of the ingredients in advance. So I just wanted to mention that. And in fact, this is exactly how I'm going to be doing this particular batch of goulash. And since the pasta is already hot, there is no need to get an extra dish dirty, so straight from the pot into the bowl will work just fine. Then ladle a good portion of the tomato juice mixture over the top and enjoy. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and this is probably my favorite meal from when I was a kid. It's classic Midwest comfort food at its best. And with that, we've reached the end of the video, so as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.